right? So what we have discussed about is some topics that is related to geography. Okay, also it is in your disaster management, somewhere linked to environment, climate change and all. Okay, so we'll try to understand this in an integrated manner. So it is related to, if you to the static part, you have study about atmosphere. Atmosphere, within atmosphere we also have studied about lot of weather disturbances or weather phenomena. So first we have is convection. Okay, this is basic terms I am revising simply. All of you understand. Okay, what is convection? Vertical movement of air. Okay, that is what is called as convection as such. Now recently what we have seen is two things. First of all, what we have witnessed across many places, heat waves, and then okay, that is in the same area we also have witnessed what you can call as forest fires, heat wave, forest fire, and all of this is linked to which phenomena? Super El Nino, that is in this year. Overall, you can say linked with global warming, because what Super El Nino is doing, it is simply amplifying the effect of global warming, right? So that is one of the parameters. So heat wave. Now regarding to this, related to this, some key terms we have to understand. Okay, because many time in UPSC prelims you will see if some terms are being if terms are being seen in the newspapers and all that, okay, even if it is slightly technical in nature, questions are asked about this. What do you understand by these terms? Also in mains examination, writing answer, I think it is very this important. So heat wave, forest fire, all of them are linked to global warming. What we observe is the forest fire. You can try to connect. We have studied about clouds in the atmosphere, and one of the clouds which we have discussed that causes heaviest amount of rainfall. What cloud it is? Right, cumulonimbus cloud. Cumulonimbus cloud. So when the forest fire took place, we have seen in last couple of years large scale forest fire breaking into Canada. Okay, before that in 2020, 2021 we have a large scale forest fire breaking into where? Australia as such. So the Canada and Australia forest fire, when it occurred, it is a cloud similar to which cloud? Nimbus cloud. But the cloud is now referred as pyrocumulonimbus. Pyrocumulonimbus. And yes, that is directly related to the cloud chapter. We have talked about cumulonimbus cloud, and due to fire everywhere, what is Canada and Australia, a type of cloud that scientists or geographers referred as pyrocumulonimbus. So what is pyrocumulonimbus? Easier to understand, this type of cumulonimbus cloud, but formed by which process? What does pyro refer to? Fire. Okay, so such type of cumulonimbus cloud, that is directly a result of which activity? Pyro activity. Yeah, that is the fire activity. Pyrocumulonimbus clouds. And this again is linked to several other topics. So we'll try to understand this in the form of flowchart, because in mains examination, if you're writing about all these topics, especially in geography, what is the two basic ingredients in every? First is for every question relevant maps or diagrams, whatever is there, and second, when you are trying to present information, rather than presenting in the form of paragraphs or in the point wise manner that we do, we use what? Flowchart way, especially when you are connecting 4, 5, 6 different topics. In that way, in those cases, the presentation of information by flowchart becomes much more easier to understand also, and it makes your answer stand out as well. Right. So let us try to understand first of all what is pyrocumulonimbus cloud and why it is being talked about. So now remember when we discussed about cloud formation, if you go step by step, suppose in examination question is asked, discuss or describe the way how clouds form or how cumulonimbus cloud form. So what is the first step that happens? So we know that the first step should be warming of surface. Surface would anyway result into warming of air. That can be one reason. Air becomes warmer. As air becomes warm, what happens due to warming of? You can say air becomes buoyant. Air becomes buoyant. As air becomes yeah. Right. So now what happens? Warming of air. As air becomes warm, it becomes light. Light means buoyancy, you understand. It becomes lighter, that means it can easily float. If it can easily float, that means where it will go? Start to rise. Rise in upward direction. Upward direction. As air rises in upward direction, whatever moisture it contains, what will happen to the moisture? It will transport it in the upper atmosphere. As it transported in the upper atmosphere, what happens? You have the condensation that will take place. So rise in upward direction, that means condensation. Condensation. Condensation, if take place over a long period of time, can result in formation of clouds. Right. So we have cloud formations that we already have discussed in the class. So if you have to present the information in the examination, rather than writing again, as we have seen that how clouds are forming in the form of statement, paragraph and all that, don't you think it is a good way of presentation? Yeah, it is giving you clear idea, plus you're also saving what? On saving on what? Word limit as such, because you have 150 words. If you're writing the same thing in paragraph, it will take 2 to 3 times more than that. So that's why you will be able to save time also, save word also. Now this is the way cloud form. What we are talking about here is pyrocumulonimbus cloud. What is the difference? All other process remains same. Imagine at certain places a large scale forest fire has broken out. Clear. So if forest fire is broken out, that means temperature is very high in that area. If temperature is very high, what would you experience? Warming of air. So generally, if we are talking about general case of warming, what causes warming of air in normal cases? Why air becomes warmer? Heat of the earth's surface, right? So what is heating the earth's surface? Sunlight. So here in normal general cases, we can say the warming of air is a direct consequence of insolation. Okay. In the case of pyrocumulonimbus, what is the reason behind warming of air? It is the forest fire. That's why every other process would remain same. Only the region behind the warming of air is different. That's why calling it pyrocumulonimbus. So here, if it is insolation based warming and consequent cloud formation, call it as a cumulonimbus. If it is forest fire based warming, then we call it as a pyrocumulonimbus cloud. So that's the one aspect of it. Forest fire. Now it creates what you call as a positive climate forcing. The other term we can write positive climate forcing. Climate change you have to study in the syllabus, environment, biodiversity, and everywhere like that. So positive climate forcing you would have studied. What is a positive climate forcing? Anything that causes increase in the temperature. Yeah, global warming is taking place. Anything that amplifies the effect of global warming, that would be which kind of change? Positive change. Anything that reduces the effect of global warming, what will call it as? Negative climate forcing. So whatever causes heating of the earth, positive climate forcing. What is causing the cooling of the earth, what will call it as? Negative climate forcing, right? So positive climate forcing also comes into picture here. So if you have to link the the current affairs, the static part, and the climate change, how to do so? So first we can show that, okay, what is forming here? Pyrocumulonimbus cloud. Why? Because of the forest fire, all these things are taking place. Now here in the last, what has happened? Clouds have formed. Which kind of cloud? Pyrocumulonimbus cloud. Now if the clouds are forming, right, pyrocumulonimbus cloud, what will take place here in the clouds? Cumulonimbus cloud, I told you, it is known for which phenomena? Thunder and lightning. A large scale thunder and lightning event takes place here. So now lightning is taking place. If lightning is taking place, what would happen? Lightning is taking place in the area where you have the forest. And in those part of the forest where still fire is not taking place, if lightning strike occurs, can it trigger fire or not? Right. So we can say due to the effect of lightning, what is going on? Fire that was already existing certain part, either it is spreading or becoming more massive in nature. Now imagine more fire, that means here you can link what is going on? More warming. So a kind of loop is being created here. Every such kind of instance is triggering a larger forest fire. And when the forest fire is taking place, the vegetation materials are burning. If they are burning, what would they release? Carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is which kind of gas? Greenhouse gas. More and more carbon dioxide is being released. That means more and more heat would be trapped as such. That means what kind of effect it is producing? Positive climate forcing. Okay, basically, it is amplifying the effect of global warming. It is further increasing the temperature of atmosphere. Yeah, so that's how we can show it here. Yeah, the cloud formation here, thunder and lightning. Lightning triggers forest fire. Forest fire causes further warming of air. And this loop plus one loop from here it will come. CO2, emission of CO2, that is a potent greenhouse gas that act as a positive climate feedback mechanism, also sometimes it is called as, or positive climate forcing. Understood or not? Clear this point, right? So basically what we have tried to do here, we have connected the static part with current affairs part with what? Climate change as such, and then that is connected to all these things. So that's how answer should be if you are integrating topics. And these days they are also asking questions like in similar pattern, where you have in same question 3-4 different parts are there. Each aspect you have to discuss. Connecting is better idea. So anyway, forest fire, pyrocumulonimbus cloud and all. Now there is one more index that we should be aware about, that is used. It's called as fire weather index, related to the same topic. Fire weather index. We should write FWI. Fire weather index. Right. Now if you look at the forest fire that is being created here, in the beginning, why forest fire has taken place, that will be determined by what value? FWI. So scientists all across the world, engineers, we can say, they keep tracking the parameters of FWI. Based on that, they then explain that what is the possibility and probability of forest fire as such. So if I ask you, in what situation, what kind of environment forest fire will take place? What should be the condition for forest fire to naturally take place? Fire is what? Burning. When will burning occur easily? In the dry condition or wet condition? Dry condition, right? So basically, first you can say what condition is required? Temperature. Temperature should be what? Higher. So first, high temperature. Right. What we are talking about is the fire weather index. So basically, what this calculates to give a value of FWI that provides the possibility of whether forest fire will take place or not. So first condition, high temperature prevailing in the atmosphere. Second condition, we have talked about a concept in the class of relative humidity. What is relative humidity? It is the measure of total humidity that is present in the atmosphere to the maximum humidity that can be held by air parcel. Okay, absolute humidity and the humidity capacity terms we have studied. So that gives you idea about relative humidity. So for forest fire to take place, relative humidity should be high or low? Low. Okay, because if it's humid, then fire ignition will not take place. So relative humidity, it should be low. That is the second parameter. So high temperature, low relative humidity. Then third condition, wind speed, in which case forest fire will become more devastating. Slow wind speed or fast wind speed? Fast. So wind speed should be faster. Wind speed should be faster. And fourth, rainfall also is taken into consideration. So rainfall. What kind of rainfall? Low. Low rainfall. So these four parameters, they are evaluated, and then it helps in preparation of forest weather index, fire weather index, that gives you the possibility of forest fire occurrence as such. So everywhere, even in India these days, we have begun to use it. It was developed in Canada initially, the fire weather index, but now in India also we are using. Which part of India we are using it? Which parts of India are prone to forest fire? In the natural vegetation that we have discussed, you have subtropical moist pine forest, where in the Himalayas. So Himalayas, the pine forest of Himalayas, pine forest of Himalayas, these are more prone to forest fire. And to understand it, if you look at this year itself, over 6,000 fire incidents have taken place in the three states of Himalayas, which are Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, and Uttarakhand. Okay, so you can understand how prone we have become to forest fire in the pine forest states of Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand. In one single year, we're talking about how many fire incidents? 6,000 fire incidents. So that is related to the increase in the value of fire weather index, because all these parameters are what are basically supporting the occurrence of forest fire here. So fire weather index, that is the second thing. Now, how would you relate to disaster management? So we have seen what we have to study about. For every disaster, you should be aware about NDMA guidelines and such. Okay, so disaster management, though we are covering it in the internal security and separately, but it is very well connected to both geography as well as environment and biodiversity. So this is the general pattern you should follow whenever you are revising about any disaster, tsunami, cyclone, earthquake, volcanism, landslides. Make sure that after you understand the mechanism, geographical concept associated with this, this connect to the current affairs wherever you have recent earthquake taking place. In last, what you should do? Refer to the NDMA guidelines. It's not very big. 5-6 statements and points there you have. Just you have to write that. That will give you what a comprehensive understanding of the entire topic. Once you're done with this, you do not have to then refer to any other sources and all that, any books or any notes and all that. That would be a comprehensive single note itself. So NDMA guideline, make sure that for every disaster, you prepare 5-6 points on that. So atmosphere, that is the heat wave, forest fire, global warming. Now, related to one concept in the same chapter in the class, if you remember, we have discussed, is called as albedo. Okay, what is albedo? How did you define albedo? What is albedo?
When the sunlight falls on the reflective capacity.
Sunlight falls. Any surface, we are basically measuring albedo for what? Any surface as such. Suppose if sunlight falls on it, what will happen? The surface will absorb some amount of energy and will also reflect. So in albedo, what are you measuring? What is the percentage of energy that is being reflected by the surface? So we have seen that if albedo of a surface is high, what will be its temperature? Low or high? Temperature is inversely proportional to albedo. Higher the albedo, lower the temperature as such. So this again is a concept we have to understand by connecting into climate change. That is called as polar amplification, a term you should be aware about. Polar Polar amplification. Polar amplification. It is directly related to the concept of albedo. So briefly we'll try to understand. So polar amplification simply means that everywhere across the world, what we are witnessing is the effect of global warming as such. Now, global warming is causing rise of temperature everywhere around the world. But what we are seeing is in the polar areas, especially in which region? If you take example of Arctic region is warming at the 3 to 4 times at the rate of, can say, 3 to 4 times higher than other places. Yeah, that is the first point, polar amplification, than normal or other places. So compared to other places on the earth, everywhere where warming is taking place, what we are experiencing is that the Arctic region is warming at what rate? At least 3 to 4 times higher rate than this. That means Arctic is this temperature of Arctic is rising much more rapidly compared to other places. So this point or this phenomena, this event is what we are referring as polar amplification. The effect of global warming is being seen to a much more greater extent in polar areas compared to the other areas of the world. So why it is so? That's what we have to understand. So polar amplification. What is the reason? Why we are witnessing polar amplification? Because a couple of years back in UPSC they have asked about the role of cryosphere. Okay, how cryosphere affects us, the climate change, weather phenomena and all that. So cryosphere is basically what? Nothing but it is other name given to which region of the world? Polar region. So you see, they could have given in the question that discuss the effect of polar regions on the earth climate. But what they are specifically asking, cryosphere. That means you should be aware about such kind of geographical terms. That what does cryosphere stand for? So polar amplification we'll talk about. What is the reason behind it? So first, we generally have seen in the classes when we talked about albedo, I told you that which kind of surface has the highest albedo on the earth. Yeah, so we have seen fresh snow. Okay, it has albedo of almost 90%, 90 to 95% of energy that is incident on the polar this fresh snow, they are simply reflected back. So that is the point. That means in the Arctic, because it is largely covered with fresh snow, generally what should you expect? Temperature would remain less because all the light is simply being reflected. Light absorbed is very lesser as such. Energy absorbed is very lesser as such. And there we are seeing the changes. Why? Because now what has happened? The global warming has resulted in the melting of ice sheets. Yeah, that's what we are witnessing here. The Arctic ice sheets, the Arctic region is melting at rapid rate. So melting of ice. If ice melt, it converts into what form? Water. And water has much more lower albedo compared to fresh snow. So earlier the part of Arctic which was covered with the snow was less warmer. Now that entire area ice has melted and now it has water. Water is absorbing more heat, more energy. So water, and now we can say it has a relatively low albedo. So it has a relatively low albedo, that means it is absorbing more heat. That means what would happen to the temperature there at the same place? Temperature increases. Okay, so the nature of surface itself is changing. That's why the temperature rise is seen to a much more greater extent here. So that is the first point you'll write. Okay, there are 2-3 other regions. This is the first region. The global warming. This here. Global warming. Global warming is resulting in melting of ice, rapid melting of ice, which is converting it in the water. Water compared to ice has low albedo. Low albedo means high absorption. High absorption. And because more heat and energy is being absorbed today, temperature of this region is increasing at a rapid rate. Understood? That is the first point. Now, second, we can connect it with the other topic we have studied is the pressure belts. Yeah, if you remember, what pressure belt? Low pressure belt, high pressure belt, everywhere we have seen on the earth. Remember or not? Right. So you start from equator. Near equator, which kind of pressure belt you will find? Equatorial, low pressure belt. Low pressure belt means air is rising in upward direction. Then around 25 to 30 degrees, you will find which one? Subtropical, high pressure belt. Very good. Then In the subpolar areas, what you will have? Subpolar low pressure belt. And again near the polar areas, what you have? Polar high pressure belt. So near the polar areas, we have the development of high pressure belt. High pressure belt means what is happening to the wind? Sinking in the downward direction. Now, what we have seen here, that more heat is being absorbed, that means temperature is increasing. If temperature increases, imagine the air above this water surface. Now, which kind of air it is? Warm air. Generally, what happens? Warm air rises up, goes in the upward direction. So, from the surface, it removes the heat, takes away the heat. But here, the warm air parcel that develops due to the pressure belt being high pressure here, what actually happens? Wind is continuously sinking. So, basically, this warm air on the surface is being trapped. Trapped by what? Trapped by the sinking wind or trapped by the high pressure. So, this is something which we call as which effect? Heat. Okay, in Europe also you are seeing and witnessing similar kind of thing as such. So second reason behind the rapid rise of temperature is warm air is not able to be displaced, it is not able to remove and take away the heat, it simply gets trapped by the sinking air. Sinking air. So it produces heat dome effect. Heat dome effect. Now see what I'm trying to say here. Question is asked, let us suppose in GS3, environment biodiversity you have to study about. Okay, that discuss why polar areas are warming at a much more rapid rate. One way is simply you write that heat dome effect is there. Other thing is you have to always try to interconnect the topics. So how do you interconnect? You bring in the concept from geography. Which concept? You will not just now write that heat dome effect is introduced or the sinking air is seen here. You will write why sinking here, because this is a part of origin of polar high pressure belt as such. Okay, so cell wise also you can say which cell? Hadley cell. This is here what we have, Ferrel cell. This is polar cell. So in bracket somewhere you do not draw a detailed diagram. A small diagram you can draw here, okay, showing the 2-3 pressure belts and all that, and that's how you are able to link it. Understand? This is because all these topics that we are talking about, the questions they're talking about, everyone knows the answer, because either you're reading newspapers or current affair booklets or magazines and all that. Fact everyone is aware about, but how do you able to get more marks? Only presentation differs. Only what differs? How you are able to integrate the topics and all that. Huh. More than 3/4 of Europe would be in the subpolar low pressure belt. No, subpolar area, no. Mediterranean region. Mediterranean region is where? Subtropical high pressure. Yeah, so, and most of rest of Europe would be in the subpolar. That's why forest fire heat dome effect is observed where? Which countries have suffered from these? For example, heat wave and all this forest fire? Greece, Italy, France. Where are these countries? They are near the subtropical high pressure. That's why your Western Europe, Southwestern Europe, that's where this effect is pronounced. If you go to countries like Norway, okay, these are in which area? In the subpolar areas, Norway, Russia, okay, all for example, upper side you have Sweden, all these countries. So they do not have this problem. So that is because they are in the subtropical high pressure belt area. That's why here we also have what? Same thing, sinking of air itself. That's why you have this effect. So heat dome effect, that is the second reason why polar area is warming at a rapid rate. Arctic is warming at rapid rate. So what we can say? First is which effect? The lowering of albedo. Okay. Second is the heat dome effect. Third effect we can link it is in the Arctic area. A term is used to refer to vegetation that we have here called as permafrost. We have permafrost. Permafrost refers to what? That part of the polar region that is permanently frozen. If permanently frozen, that means it is covered with ice sheets. That means all the vegetation, organic matter that you have, they are trapped inside the ice sheets and glaciers and all that. Now, what is being witnessed here? These glaciers and ice sheets are rapidly melting. As they melt, okay, all the trapped vegetation matter, which has released huge amount of gases, which gas mainly? Decay of organic matter, methane gases. They were trapped inside the ice sheets. Now, as the ice sheets melt rapidly, this the trapped methane gases from the permafrost area, trapped methane gas, this from the permafrost region, it is being now released And methane is also type of which gas? Greenhouse gas. So greenhouse gas, that means it will lead to what? More warming. So further it also create a kind of loop or cycle. So that is the third reason. Permafrost. Permafrost, melting in the permafrost has led to release of the trapped methane gas, which is a type of greenhouse gas. That means more and more warming would be observed, and because the concentration of these gases are developing more over the Arctic areas, I can say rapid temperature rise. Rapid temperature rise is being witnessed. These are the three primary factors. There are all secondary factors are there numerous, but the three primary factors that is responsible for the rapid rise of the temperature in Arctic is what one? These are the three that we have to understand. So, and that's how we can link both the environment and biodiversity, climate change, and the geographical static concept as such. Done? Understood? Then other concept that is related to this global warming and all is a weather phenomena which we have studied in the geography referred as cyclones, right? The cyclones, we know, generally they take place in the areas which is in the tropical zone, right? The tropical zone, because you have both high temperature as well as what required for this cyclone. Humidity is higher, that is required. Apart from that, what is the most important? No, why cyclones not develop near the equatorial area? Coriolis force, right? So in tropical area, what you have? Significant value of Coriolis force itself. Now here also the effect of same things we are seeing here. Again linked with what? Global warming, climate change. So cyclones is not something new. It has been developing on the earth since the development of atmosphere and all that. But due to the effect of global warming, what scientists have begun to note is that two things. First, the intensity, and second, the frequency. So intensity and frequency of cyclones, they have continuously increased here, right? So already we have discussed about cyclone mechanism of formation, how do they form, conditions and all. Now we have to understand this part, how intensity and frequency of cyclone is increasing, plus few important terms we'll try to understand here. Now in geographical term, it is said that due to the global warming, generally what is going on, we are witnessing that is simple, high value of a term that we use called as CAPE, CAPE it is called as. It was mentioned I think in Hindu also a few weeks back. High value of CAPE. What is CAPE? That we can define here. CAPE stand for convective available. Convective available potential energy, right? That is what CAPE stand for. Due to global warming, what we are witnessing is in many places of the world, the CAPE, the value of CAPE has become much more higher. The convective available potential energy. Right? What is convective available potential energy? Think how cyclones form. Mechanism. If you remember what we have seen, what is the first condition for cyclone formation? What do you require? Okay, large sea surface. But first of all, tropical cyclone you talk about, they cannot develop over the land surface. They only develop over the water surface. So large sea surface. In large sea surface, at a certain place, temperature is relatively high. As temperature becomes higher, what we know? That the air start to rise up from this place. Air start to rise up from this place, and then the surrounding air then rush to fill this gap. But because of strong value of Coriolis force, what happens to them? They start to rapidly rotate. Okay, start to rapid because air is coming toward the high temperature area. That means temperature of air would also rise, and due to Coriolis force, they are being forced to rotate around. So they are rotating, and due to the warming effect, what is happening to them? Rising up. That's why which kind of motion? This kind of helical motion we can see here. So air then goes, and the upper direction, upper atmosphere, it simply diverges away. So that's why convergence in the cyclone takes place near the surface, and divergence takes place where? In the upper atmosphere as such. And this cycle keep on continuing, and as the air rises upward here, air rises upward here, At this place, imagine what is going on. Temperature is becoming lesser. That means condensation occurs. Condensation would result in what? Formation of, right, dense clouds. Dense clouds, they causes heavy amount of rainfall as such. Rainfall as such. That is basic of cyclone we have studied in class. Now, what is being observed? Intensity of cyclone and frequency of cyclone has increased significantly. What is the reason? Intensity means the strength of the cyclone. That means more strong winds you are experiencing, heavier amount of rainfall than the normal cyclone you are experiencing. What is the reason behind it? Is depends upon the buoyancy of the air again. How fast air can rise up. If air rises at very fast rate, the air would also come from surrounding area at what? Very fast velocity. That means the wind velocity becomes higher. Plus, if air rises at very fast rate, more and more moisture is being transported in the upper atmosphere, and that transportation is taking place rapidly. That means cloud that will form will be what? Denser than normal. The amount of rainfall that will witness will be what? Higher than normal. So all depends on the energy of what? Right, wind, air itself as such. So that energy that the air contains, what it is called as? Convective available potential energy as such. Okay, that transforms into the cyclonic. Like imagine like a spring you have. Okay. So spring is attached to the wall. So one, you are pushing the spring up to this place, and the same spring you have, one, you are pushing the spring all the way up to the wall. When you release the spring, leave the spring, what will happen? Right, this will vibrate at more greater intensity compared to this one. So basically that is how we can also understand the convective available potential energy. Warmer or hotter the air, more potential it will have to create disastrous weather phenomena such as cyclone. The intensity would be quite higher. So we can define it actually. Convective available potential energy, in simplest term we can define it, refers to the potential, it refers to the potential of air to rise rapidly, from surface to upper atmosphere, rapidly from surface to upper atmosphere. So the energy of the air to rise up depends on what? Heating of the surface. And due to global warming, what is being witnessed? More and more heating of the surfaces. So the places where sea surface was 26, 27, now that same place we have 28 degrees Celsius temperature. That means air is more warmer, what will happen? Intensity will increase as such. And this again, the frequency part, you can link it to the other thing. Example, first, global warming is causing rise in temperature. Second, what scientists have witnessed is that it is connected to polar areas as well. So in polar areas, what we are witnessing? Rapid melting of glaciers. That means more and more water is being added from the polar areas. And where all this water is coming to? To the sea or ocean as such. That means more water volume, and this is basically water that is supplying the moisture to the what? Cyclone as such. So now we have more availability of moisture. Temperature is also higher, moisture availability is also higher. So what would increase? Probability of cyclone formation will increase. So that is other point, right? The polar areas due to rapid melting of polar areas, more water, right? More water is being added to ocean or sea, and this supplies more moisture to the cyclone. Right. So melting of polar areas creates more water. This water is then added to the sea and ocean, and then it further increases the moisture supply to cyclone, making it more intense in nature. Understood this part? So till now whatever we discussed, what you can think of? One thing, all of these phenomena, all of these events are connected to which one factor? Global warming. Everything is related to global warming, whether it is forest fire, whether it is heat wave, whether it is the rapid melting of ice sheets or the warming of the Arctic region. Okay, everything to some extent is connected to global warming. And Now, in case of India, we have also witnessed its effect this year. We have seen that what is taking place. El Nino term we have discussed in the class. Okay, and El Nino's effect on monsoon also we have studied. Whenever you have the El Nino years, the probability of monsoon being deficit becomes higher as such, right? Not always, but most of time. Now, what we are witnessing this year is super El Nino. That means the El Nino is defined as the warming of water. Where? Near the South American coast, in the Pacific Ocean and all. If the warming is greater than usual, higher than usual, what will cause such event as phenomena as super El Nino. So here also the air temperature, the ocean temperature rises, but the rate at which it rises or the temperature at which it rises is much more higher than that. Now super El Nino, it should generally have resulted in what kind of monsoon? Weaker monsoon as such, and that we are actually experiencing also. But what else we have experienced is though the monsoon is weak, that means the overall amount of rainfall, right? Overall, the amount of rainfall that we are receiving is lesser. But what also we are witnessing this year, especially in the context of India, see, amount of rainfall is less means if in earlier cases you have every week suppose 3 days rainfall or 4 days rainfall. Now this year what will happen? 1 to 2 days of rainfall. That is one way of understanding. But also what we have seen is the days on which rainfall takes place. The amount of rainfall is what? Much more. Okay. So that is a unique pattern which we are witnessing in India. The effect of super El Nino is the monsoon is weaker. Amount of rainfall overall, okay, in the entire monsoon season, if you look, is lesser. Number of days on which we are experiencing rainfall is less, but the days on which rainfall is taking place, in that single day, the amount of rainfall we are experiencing is what? Much more higher than usual. Yes, this is the contrasting phenomena which we are experiencing. That first of all we can add here. Days on which rainfall occurs higher, higher amount of rainfall on daily basis when you're comparing it, higher amount of rainfall. This also has been linked with the same thing, that is higher Cape. Higher Cape. Why? Same reason. What do we have here? Global warming. Global warming has produced higher Cape. And how this we can understand? So scientists believe that now mostly which kind of air you have everywhere? Warm air, because temperature is higher. If warm air is present, which air will have more humidity, more moisture? Warm air. Cold air will have what? Relatively less moisture, because we have seen, okay, humidity and the temperature, humidity capacity and temperature relation we have studied. So suppose you have an air parcel of this size, right? Within that you can put what? A certain amount of water vapor. If you decrease the temperature, make it colder, what will happen to the size of air parcel? It becomes smaller. That means now it will contain what? Relatively lesser amount of the water vapor. So warmer air has ability to contain more moisture or more water vapor. Right? More moisture or more water vapor. Right? Warm air contains more moisture and more water vapor. And that's why whenever you have the possibility of condensation, even though the number of days on which condensation occurs is lesser, but whenever condensation happens, what will you experience? All this higher volume of water vapor which was present in the atmosphere would be precipitated out in the form of rainfall on the surfaces. That's why the days when you are having rainfall, the amount of rainfall is very high, because the air is relatively more warmer than the early years, early decade and such. So that is the other effect of the global warming we are witnessing on India's monsoon. And this you can link with the recent flood which we witnessed where? In the Mumbai. So Mumbai flood is because of what reason? Overall less rainfall it is receiving, but at the same time in the single day a very heavy amount of rainfall, and situation become more difficult because drainage is very bad, okay, in most of the urban areas such. Either it is being choked, or due to encroachment and the construction of buildings and all that, the natural drainage, their path has been obstructed. So whenever you have a heavy amount of rainfall, what happens? Water gets clogged everywhere. Okay, it basically gets stagnant everywhere in the cities. So urban flooding, that means This entire thing we can link with other disaster that we have to study in syllabus. Which disaster? Question UPSC asked in 2018 related to urban flood after Chennai flood. Okay, so urban flood. You can write. All of this can be related to the urban floods.
Sir, I have one.
Huh.
Due to global warming, every year the temperature,
Huh.
and compared to last year, this year's temperature should be higher, and the volume of rainfall has been. But sometimes I see in the newspaper like the temperature reaching, this was way back to 1931 or 19.
Huh.
So how is it like at the time there was no very warming of temperature, but it was recorded in the 1931 and now it is recorded.
And that is because of local AC. Not only this is the greenhouse gases is one factor, okay, that is causing global warming. Also, what happens? Example, you talk about naturally. Naturally, Earth also keeps going in which phase? Warming phase and cooling phase. Even if suppose humans did not exist and the global warming by greenhouse gases were not present, it does not mean the Earth's temperature would remain constant throughout its entire geological history. Earth itself undergoes the phase of warming, phase of cooling as such. What is the reason? So we have seen that axis of rotation, Earth's axis of rotation currently is 23.5 degrees, but that is not fixed. Earth's axis of rotation itself changes over years and such, right? So for example, it can tilt more toward the sun or it can tilt more away from the sun. If it is tilting more toward the sun, that means what we will say? That more and more insolation is being received by the northern hemisphere. So temperature will become what? Relatively warmer. If it goes like this, that means now what we will see? That less surface insolation is being observed. That means temperature will become what? Relatively lesser as such. Okay, so this is something that's what actually Donald Trump talks about, or the people who negate the global warming. They say that all of this is hoax. Okay, this is basically false assumption and all that. Okay, Earth automatically warms and cools. Okay, but that is wrong assumption. But anyway, what is it called as? Milankovitch cycle. Okay, Milankovitch cycle refer to the cycle in which Earth repeatedly warms and cools over a period of time. So warming we talk about it is more in the recent years. That is because of the trapping of the heat by greenhouse gases, such that has increased the overall temperature. But apart from that, also the cycle itself creates warming and cooling. Right. So these are some facts we had to discuss as far as the this climatology part is concerned. A lot of diagrams and all that we have made. So, for example, when you refer to class notes, rather than just reading whatever you have written text, once you understand the concept, what part you have to extract from class notes? Diagram part that you have drawn. That is the most important. Try to practice it. Okay, cyclone formation, temperate cyclone formation, thunderstorm, stages of thunderstorm we have talked about. Okay, so the diagrams are very essential, and I have seen that many times when I am looking at the question answer sheets of students. They have written entire geography question paper was I think 2-3 weeks back. There was not a single diagram in entire paper. How is it possible? Okay, I've written 15 questions of geography and not a single diagram, not a single map. That does not even look like geography paper, right? So you have to take at least 20-30 seconds before you start writing answer for this question, mains question, that what are the diagrams or maps I can put here. Once you do that, then you can put it easily. Once you start writing answer, it becomes difficult. Okay, that you start inculcating diagrams. So that is the point. Now coming to some parts of geomorphology related to some recent events we can talk about. Geomorphology. Now geomorphology, the diagrams here also are very important. So you start from the plate tectonics, the most important chapter if you have to identify in the geomorphology. What would it be? Plate tectonics. Plate tectonics. So plate tectonics, if any question is asked related to plate tectonics directly, indirectly and all that, make sure that you draw 2 diagrams at least, and this is very easier because one diagram you have draw about is a diagram that explains mechanism or what you can call as process as such. And second, you have to draw the map. Map of what? Map of the active plate boundary belt. Active plate boundaries. Try to use both of these in any question directly, indirectly related to the plate tectonics, or even related to what earthquake that you have, volcanism based question is asked, tsunami based question is asked, and all that. So this already we have covered in class, but again we can take example of recently a volcano erupted in Philippines. Okay, and sometimes they are asking question like few years back in mains they asked that discuss about the major volcanic eruptions of last 1 year, right? So that is a direct question which is based on the current affairs, and then talk about the effects of volcanism and all that. So Philippines is a country where we have seen recent eruption of volcano that is called as Mayon volcano. If suppose in mains examination they are asking question about the Mayon volcano, right? How do you write the answer? So whatever is being asked, you write that text form. But which map or diagram you can show here to make your answer stand out? First of all, you need to know that where exactly Mayon volcano is located. So it is located in the Philippines. As soon as the term Philippines comes into mind, you should automatically remember that it must be part of which area? Ring of fire, or also what we call it as circum-Pacific ring. So now you cannot write answer without showing this circum-Pacific ring, because this is the most important part of the answer. This is the heart of the answer, you can say. So you will draw now ring of fire or circum-Pacific ring. You remember or not? Right. World map, if you are able to draw the world map, then everything you can draw easily, because based on the question you have to draw different regions. So if you know the world map in circum-Pacific ring, what you have to draw? Simply North America, South America. Other side, what do you have? Eurasia and Australia as such. And this will be helpful in the ocean current also. Right? Many times they have asked question. In ocean current, actually, same question is being asked multiple times. At least 4 or 5 times they have asked. What is the question? Discuss the factor responsible for ocean current. What is the other part of the question? What are the effects of the ocean current? Effects on climate, effects on fishing, effects on economic activities, effects on shipping, navigation, and all that. So that's why I would suggest that if you have not practiced till now, practice drawing India's map as well as world map. It will become very easier for you then to inculcate diagrams or maps in the answer. So it is like this. Here we have South America, here we have North America. This side what we will have? Right, Eurasia. So Russia. Here you have Kamchatka Peninsula. Here you have South and North Korean landmass. And further you have China. And further you have Vietnam. And like this. And from here you have the Japan. And 3 major islands of Japan you will find. Here, if you go further south, you have the islands of Philippines. Here you have the islands of Indonesia, and this side slightly to the south you'll find Australia as such. So this entire rim of the Pacific is what you call as circum-Pacific ring as such. So why is circum-Pacific ring? If you revise briefly. So everywhere what do you have? A kind of active plate boundaries. And if you draw like this. So this entire zone, you start from the east, passing through Japan, passing through the islands of Philippines, and all the way up to New Zealand here you have also. So this is the end. So from New Zealand all the way up to South America, Antarctica also, 1 2 volcanoes you will find. So that is the circum-Pacific ring. Right. So when you're talking about Mayon volcano, you can show that this is the Philippines island, and then you have to show the plates. Which plates? Which plates do you have here? So this side, this is your Pacific plate, the largest oceanic plate. This is the small plate that is referred as, what do you call it as? Filipino plate as such. So Filipino plate, and this side this is your Indo-Australian plate as such. So whenever we have volcanic eruption, this side also we have the Mariana Trench, right? When the Pacific plate is subducting below the Philippine plate, it has created the deepest point on the earth. Okay, what is the deepest point called as? Mariana Trench. That is here. So Mariana Trench is located at the border of Pacific plate and Filipino plate as such. And this is the area where also what you will find? The volcano. Which volcano? Mayon volcano. So once you show like this, okay, this map, then it becomes easier. Examiner do not even have to read your entire answer. He understand that you know the location, you know the concept, you know the plate tectonics and all that. That means you are you will be having good marks in that question. So that is one. That is the map part. If question is asked about the mechanism, why volcanism and all that is taking place, then you cannot simply explain like this. Then you have to bring in what? A diagram related to what you can call as plate interaction. Okay, if question is asked, discuss. Suppose a mains question is discuss the region behind the volcanic eruption in Mayon region of Philippines. Right. So one is first you will show that Mayon region is located in the circum-Pacific zone. It is situated between the Philippines and the Pacific plate and all that. Again, brief point about that. But what is the actual question? Describe or discuss the regions. Why volcanic eruption happened here? So for that, again, you cannot just write that why volcanic eruption happened. You have to show by proper plate interaction diagrams and such. So what would you show? What is going on? So what kind of convergence? Oceanic convergence. Diagram we understand that what happens. So one oceanic plate can be denser. Achha, this is also very interesting. Maybe we have discussed in class. Both plates are which kind of plate? Oceanic plate. So one plate would sink. Continental convergence we have discussed, CC convergence. Are plates sinking there? No. Okay, what happens? They keep on colliding, compressing each other, resulting in the upfolding of sediments and rock. Here also we have two same type of plate. But here what is going on? Subduction. What is the reason why oceanic plate subducts? Two oceanic plate interaction when happens, one oceanic plate subducts while the continental plate is not subduct. Very good. So basically in this plate density difference is very less, right? And plus they are also light. So they are very buoyant in nature. Okay. Like for example, you imagine that you have water in a bucket and you're putting thermocol there, right? No matter how much you press thermocol, what will happen? After some time again it will come up. Why? Because the density is very less. Plus all the continental crust have formed almost in the same time. There is no much difference in the age as well. In the oceanic plate, we have seen in the seafloor spreading theory, what actually happens? Oceanic plate keeps on getting recycled every 200 million years or so. So some oceanic plates are very old, some part of oceanic plate is what very young. If the oceanic plate is very old means what are they? Cold, right? Because how oceanic plates are forming? Coming rising of magma. So magma is rising and then it is solidifying, and now more and more time has passed, it has become colder. Other place magma might have risen and solidified more recently. So that can be relatively what? Warmer. So that means it will be what? Lighter. It will be what? Relatively denser as such. So that's why whenever we have this point, I wanted to emphasize. So this you have the oceanic plate, this is O1 also. Achha, always when you are drawing any diagram related to plate tectonics, plate interaction, diagram cannot be considered complete unless and until what you are showing? Flow of convection current below them. Okay, so very important part of the plate interaction diagram. Do not draw plate interaction diagram without showing the convection current. So convection current must be flowing like this. This is convection cell 1. This is the convection cell 2. Okay, so two convection cells we have, and the place where the oceanic plate converges, here convergence going on. What kind of structure forms? Trench, right? The deep and narrow valley forms here, and above that you'll have the water. So simply also in the diagram itself, if you label it properly, write a lot. Here what is going on? As the plates go to a depth of about 80 to 100 kilometers, temperature increases significantly. As temperature increases significantly, what happens? Plates start to undergo melting. As melting occurs, magma forms. The gases that are present in the rocks also are released, and these gases then push the magma in upward direction as such. Then magma finally breaks through the oceanic plate and then comes out in the form of eruption. When the magma comes in contact with the cold water of the ocean, cools, solidifies, and then it forms what? Kind of island-like structure. Right? Still, it is kind of mountain-like structure. Gradually, as it continues for a long time, what happens? It rises above the sea level, and it would resemble what kind of structure? Volcanic island. So once you draw this diagram, what would you say? This is the volcanic islands archipelago of which country? Philippines. That means Mayon is situated somewhere on these islands, and continuously, because the plate is subducting here, magma continuously rises. So this is a type of which volcano? Active volcano. Continuously eruption will happen. So because of this, you have what? You have experienced volcanic eruption, right? What was the question? Describe the regions or discuss the region behind the volcanic eruption recently in the Mayon. So that is the way how we can simply show. And in the writing part, you have to write now very less. That also you can write in the form of flow chart, right? If suppose if we are writing about this answer, what we have done? Imagine introduction part, we have started with a map showing where is the Mayon located. Circumpacific ring, briefly you can discuss about in 10 to 15 words. Second, you'll write the mechanism or the regions behind the volcanic eruption. That would represent in which way? In the form of this particular plate mechanism diagram as such. And then you will explain, what will explain? Why volcanic eruption occurs. So rather than writing big statement, we can write in the form of flow chart. So how? Same thing we have discussed. Right. This is something that many aspirants have find difficulty in. They are not able to put all their points and understanding in the crisp and concise way, and that is required in UPSC. What would you write here? Subduction of denser oceanic plate below what? Below the lighter one. Okay. You do not have to write that in this diagram, as you have seen, the ocean denser oceanic plate is subducting below the lighter oceanic plate and all that. You have to be as short as possible. Subduction of denser oceanic plate below the lighter one. That results in what? Here we can add, okay, at 100 kilometers depth. If you want, you can add here at 100 kilometers, at roughly 100 kilometers depth, melting of the rocks or crust. Melting of the rocks and crust. Then what would you write? What would you show? What is the melting of rocks and crust doing? It is causing formation or development of what? Magma. Magma formation. Right. Third would be magma formation. Magma formation results in what? Rise of magma. So once magma formation, magma rises upward. Rise of magma upward. Then what happens? You have the magma breaks through the crust. Magma breaks through crust of other plate. Okay, you can name the plate, whatever plates you have named there, you can write here. This is a common format for every plate tectonics. Whichever plates you are talking about, you can add based on that. Magma breaks through the crust of the other plate, and what it results? Volcanic eruption. That we can show gradually what it transforms into. We have island formation, and because it is active volcano, every time when the lava magma breaks through, what would you experience? Volcanic eruptions. That is how Mayon experienced a volcanic eruption. So this is how you should structure your answer, okay, rather than writing in a big paragraph or statement forms and all that. So this now, if you add these three parts, does your answer look better or not? Okay, it looks like actually geography answer. Okay, it also looks like that you have presented all the information, plus the job of examiner, it becomes easier. That's what you have to do. If suppose you have written 15 paragraphs, okay, he has to read through all the lines and all that, and you have not even underlined, for example, important keywords. So he will spend more time. You have presented information like this, it takes how many seconds? 2 to 5 seconds for the person who has the understanding knowledge to know that whether you know the concept or not. Okay, for looking at the map, it will take how many seconds? 2 seconds. 2 seconds here, 2 seconds here, 3 seconds here. In 8 seconds, 10 seconds, examiner know whatever you know or whatever you do not know, whether you have the clarity of concepts or not. You see this, what has happened? Examiner's job become easier. Okay, he'll be happy. If he is happy, what will he do? Give you more marks. Okay, because he is not, you are having this, what you can say, motivation and this all to go and write good examination to get in the UPSC and IAS, become IAS and all that. Examiner is doing just his job. Many times he is doing even if he do not want to check the copy, right? Answers it because he is being paid for it. That's why if you make his job easier, you will get better marks. This is what we have to keep in mind. So in geography, it is much more easier because we have various ways how to make his job easy. So that is to explain the Mayon volcano which erupted a few weeks back in the Philippines island, right? Ring of fire concept. Same thing we can talk about tsunami. Tsunami, the disastrous or devastating tsunami we have not experienced in many years, but small scale tsunami, the most recent one which we witnessed was in Kamchatka. So if any question related to tsunami and all is asked, which UPSC asks every time, very frequently, also you can show in similar manner. So example you can take, like suppose Kamchatka. Where is Kamchatka located? It is in the Russia. So last year you have tsunami warning that were issued due to three things. Three different phenomena converge here. Tsunami is not a single isolated incident. What actually triggered Kamchatka tsunami? So you can bring in concept of what was the triggering event. Volcanic eruption. Volcanic eruption in this region resulted into what? Earthquake. And it was the earthquake that triggered what? Tsunami. Okay, so when we are talking about the tsunami, okay, cases in the mains examination, for example, so you have to bring in all the three concepts. Volcanic eruption triggered earthquake, earthquake triggered tsunami as such. Again, all of this is linked to which area? Where Kamchatka is located? Same place. It is part of the same larger ring of fire or circum-Pacific belt as such. So, if question is asked that discuss or describe the reason behind the Kamchatka tsunami, or okay, this account for the factors resulting in the formation of tsunami in Kamchatka region, how should your answer look like? The diagram would remain same. You will just show there in this region. Which area? This area. This is your Kamchatka region. So here you have volcanic eruption. Why volcanic eruption? Now you will show which plates are there. Pacific plate. Which plate is here? That means now you will write which kind of interaction is going on. Ocean continent convergence. If ocean continent convergence is taking place, that means now we have to represent this. Okay. We have to explain the mechanism slightly differently. So you can write the name of the plate. This side we have the oceanic plate. Which oceanic plate? Pacific plate. Right. Again, below this, what we will draw? The convection current as such. This side, what do we have? Eurasian continental plate. Right. So why Kamchatka tsunami occurred? Same thing as the plate subducts. You have the magma then erupts and creates volcanic mountains. So whenever huge amount of magma is generated here, the lava moves and you have the eruption. Because now the lava is moving through this entire surface itself. What it will cause? Disturbance or the movement, vibration in the rock system. That vibration in the rock system, that means here we can say, okay, this is the plate interaction, this is the Eurasian continental plate. Draw simple rough diagram. See how much it does not take a lot of time. Maybe it will take 5, 8, 10 seconds, not more than that. You do not have to be very exact in drawing everything in proper sketch, this scale and all that. And you do not have to focus on this line exactly parallel and all that. It is very simple line diagram you have to draw. Once you draw, now we'll write that based on the or as seen in the above diagram, what we can see that the denser, again here what is going on, oceanic plate is always denser than continental plate. Why oceanic plate is denser than continental plate? This we have discussed in the Holmes convection current theory. What is the reason behind? Rock composition. Ocean plate is made up of which rock? Basalt rock, which is having higher density than the continental plate, which is largely made up of granite and granite derived rock. So oceanic plate is always denser. So denser oceanic plate subducts below the lighter continental plate, and again at depth of about 80-100 kilometers, what forms? Magma formation and what we can say? Magma eruption. When the magma formation eruption happens, what kind of geophysical phenomena it would result in? Volcanic eruption. Volcanic eruption then causes, what will write? Massive vibration and shaking of earth. Massive vibration and shaking of earth. This also is referred by what term? Earthquake. Yeah, so due to the movement of magma, due to the disturbances produced by volcanic eruption, magma eruption, massive vibration and shaking of earth is experienced. That results in earthquake. And we know that if earthquake is of higher magnitude, it can cause what? Right. So rather than writing tsunami, we will write one more: massive displacement. Massive or large scale, both terms you can write. Massive or large scale displacement of sea or ocean water, right? Because what they're asking, for example, mechanism of tsunami. So you cannot simply write here earthquake is causing tsunami, because that is observation. Mechanism means you have to explain slightly how earthquake can trigger tsunami. So what earthquake is doing? Shaking. Shaking causes what? Massive displacement of the entire ocean water that is in that area. Massive displacement of sea or ocean water, that leads to generation of very large or big sea waves, right? Which kind of waves are they? That also we can be more clear here. Tsunami always moves in which kind of fashion? ripple-like fashion. So ripple-like large sea wave is what we refer as tsunami. Okay, so tsunami formation. Then we can make it. So again, in the term of flow chart diagrams, okay, we have been able to present the information without using lot of words and space. Right. So it also will have help. It will also help you in other subjects because history, geography, society, all of that together. In history, society, you largely have to write a lot of statements and all that. Okay, you have to explain that. So the time that you will save here, you will use more where in writing in those subjects. So that's why GS1 overall can become more better. Understood what is going on? Denser subduction, denser plate subduct below the lighter continental plate, magma formation and eruption. That is volcanic eruption. Volcanic eruption causes massive vibration shaking in the what? In the rock system. In the rocks that causes or triggers earthquake. Earthquake in the area because here you have the ocean. You will see. Okay. Causes massive displacement of sea or ocean water. That results in what? Ripple like large sea wave formation. And that is what we encounter or experience as in the form of sea wave. Now, interestingly, this is the region if you connect here, okay, that the origin point of the tsunami, again we come to this map. Where did tsunami originate? This area. This is where you have volcanic eruption, earthquake and all that. But because of the way, how do the tsunami waves move? In the form of ripple. That's why the warning was issued where? In Alaska, North America. Where was warning issued? In the Mexico. And as far as the upper Southern America as such. Plus here you will find island. Which island? Hawaii Island. They are also warning was issued. Because though tsunami develops here, it moves in this way. Which form? Circle, ripple-like form. So within a day, it can easily travel from one part of Pacific to other part of Pacific, and waves is spreading outward. So that's why Japan also issued tsunami warning because of the same. So imagine earthquake and tsunami has taken place in Russia, but everywhere alert is being issued. Japan, Philippines, Hawaii Island, Alaska, and right, Mexico and all that. What is the region? That we will explain. That is because of ripple-like or circular fashion of movement of wave itself. And since now we are talking about Hawaii here, I think couple of months back, you also have significant volcanic eruption in which island? In the Hawaii Island. Now, if you remember the Hawaii Island volcanic eruption, is it because of plate interaction or some other reason? Why volcanic eruption takes place in Hawaii? What is the mechanism or fact reason? Very good, right? So it is not taking place because of plate subduction or plate interaction. It is example of intraplate volcano because this entire area is which plate? Pacific plate. Okay, so question is asked about that also. For example, there again we can use the diagram. So hot spot volcano, I think we have drawn what actually happens. So this is your plate. Okay, below the plate, this is the plate. Right. Okay, this is the asthenosphere, that means mantle. Okay, here what we have? Core. In the case of hot spot, where is magma coming from? That also is different. It is coming from the mantle core boundary. Okay, the place at the mantle core boundary, some places are there which are relatively more hotter compared to the surrounding areas due to regions that we do not know or fully understood yet. So from the hottest region, because here you have the materials in molten form, they become relatively buoyant, lighter. And what happens? The rising structure is referred by what term? Mantle plume. And this region is what we call as fixed hotspot. So the volcano that erupted here in Hawaii, it is referred as Kilauea eruption. Okay, so question can be asked: Kilauea eruption. Kilauea eruption in Hawaii, it occurred I think last month or 2 months back, I think. So Hawaii. What is the mechanism? So here, this is the Pacific plate. That means it is an oceanic plate. If it is an oceanic plate above the entire ocean, what is resting? Water volume. So now volcanic eruption takes place here. So first you'll have mount. Sea mount is the term we have discussed in the oceanography. First, when the structure start develop, mountain like a structure develop, what is called as sea mount. Right? Sometimes sea mount destroys, upper part destroys, become more flattish. What do you call as? Geodes. Right? Then gradually what happen? If it keep rising in the height, a time would come when it rise above the earth surface, above the water surface. Then it would resemble what? Island. Right? That is what is going on. Now, Imagine that the Pacific plate is moving in this direction because all plates are mobile. So currently this is the island, and below the island, what do you have? Mantle plume. That means magma is present. So every now and then eruption is going on. If you come back millions of years later, what would you experience? The plate would have displaced, right? Changed its position. And relative to plate, the hot spot that was here. Now, what we would experience? Hot spot would reach at this place, right? Hot spot is fixed, right? Keep in mind. What we're talking about, hot spot, its place is fixed. But above that, the plate is moving. That is why what it seems that hot spot has come to this side. So now, same thing, mantle plume is rising here, breaking through crust, and then rising up like this. And here you have the water layer. That means plate must have moved from here to here. Everywhere there would be volcanic eruption in the past. That means what would you find here? Volcanic islands, okay, like this. But only which volcano is active? The volcano which is lying directly above the hotspot. These volcanoes would be active in the past, but now they have become extinct in nature, right? Because they have been displaced away from the region of hotspot. So currently, if I ask, this is the volcano which is referred by what name? The island is referred by what name? Hawaii. And on the Hawaii, which volcano erupted? Kilauea. So Kilauea volcanic eruption can simply be explained by this particular diagram. Here you have the intraplate or hot spot volcanism. Intraplate or hot spot volcanism. That means in future, what we can expect? Currently, eruption is continuously taking place through Kilauea. That means it is which kind of volcano? Active volcano. But in the future, what would happen to it? It will also become extinct volcano. Like if you talk about the islands apart from Hawaii, several islands you have in the same region. So Oahu Island you will find, Kauai Island you have, Maui Island you have. So these all the islands that are formed in the previous times. So gradually Hawaii will also become something like this. So such kind of question, whenever it is being asked, liberally you have used as many maps and diagrams and the flow chart as possible. These are some ways of doing it. Recently, one more we have seen, earthquake chapter we have to study about. Earthquake, that means seismic event. Seismic event. So one seismic event we recently encountered is called as what? Doublet. Okay, twin earthquake it is also called as, took place almost a few minutes after each other. Doublet earthquake. Seismic events or doublet earthquake. Now this becomes a category. Why I am talking about it? Because the static part you have to study what topic? Classification or types of earthquake. Now when you are talking about all the topics we have discussed, types of earthquake on the basis of causative factors. We have seen natural earthquake, man-made earthquake. Okay. Then we have discussed on the basis of the depth of focus, shallow focus, intermediate focus and deep focus earthquake. Then we have discussed it on what basis? On basis of intensity, how many people lost their life. So moderate intensity, high hazardous intensity and all that. One more what we can add, because recently we have seen a twin earthquake has taken place. Can you not add it now? We can add it. What is the benefit? Because now it seems that not only you are aware about the static part, but also you are able to link your static syllabus with the current affair development. Now where did this doublet or twin earthquake took place? So the region is Venezuela. Okay, so now if you are describing about it, okay, rather than just writing, you can show. Okay, again the knowledge of world map would come handy here. So you simply show here. This is the South America. In the upper part, what do you have? This is this part. Okay, they have the Venezuela as such. So Venezuela, and then you show which plate is it? The upper part. This is the Caribbean plate. In the atlas, when the plates are given, you will find this plate easily. Caribbean plate is a small minor, we can call it minor oceanic plate. And this side, which plate you have? South American plate. So what is going on? Which kind of motion? Now you bring in the concept of plate interaction. Three type of plate interaction: convergence, divergence, transform. This is example of which kind of plate interaction? Transform plate interaction. So basically what is going on here? The Caribbean plate is sliding along the South American plate. Venezuela is located at the boundary of the plate, border of the plate. And that's why, because of this transform plate interaction, what we have experienced? Seismic event, earthquake as such. Right. So if you have to show this in the flow chart, explain this. Suppose question is about this earthquake itself. Okay, just we take an example. What would you say? How would you explain that earthquake triggered here? Earthquake was triggered here. So first you will write what kind of plate interaction? Transform plate interaction between name of the plates. You can write plates, Caribbean plate and South American plate. As the transform plate interaction takes place, what we observe is that stress build up, because rocks rub against each other, they lock against each other. So at the border or at the plate boundary, stress build up in the rocks. Stress build up in the rocks. As stress build up in the rocks, after some time, when they experience more pressure and force, what we experience is fracture or rupture. Fracture or rupture in the rocks. Fracture or rupture in rocks result in release of the energy. Right? Release of energy. This release of energy is then basically energy then moves or travels in what form? Form of seismic waves, right? And then seismic wave reaches the surface. The seismic waves finally reach the surface. The first place where seismic wave reaches the surface, what is that point called as? Epicenter. So surface at epicenter would reach, and this would be experienced or observed in the form of earthquake. Now, interestingly, what kind of earthquake it is? Twin earthquake. That means if it is two-time earthquakes taking place after short duration, energy must be released how many times? Two times. This we can show simply here. Release of energy first time, and similarly we have what? After few minutes, you have the release of energy second time, and that again seismic. So seismic event 1, seismic event 2. Okay, double earthquake. Simply you have to improvise, add here itself. So again, rather than writing bulk case statements in paragraph, we have explained the entire topic by the use of flow charts, maps, and transform plate interaction diagram. Also, you can sort draw easily. We have P1, P2. Neither moving toward nor away from each other. Simply what they are doing, sliding past along each other. Understood? So it's not that everything we have talked about in every situations. This is a format I have given you. Now think of any other topic, go to the previous year questions, right? And even if you have written maybe earlier answers for different topics in geography, now try to again revise those answers and see, can you present them in this particular form? Whatever you have written in the statement form, can you transform them into some maps or diagrams so that entire statement can be removed or paragraph can be removed? If you are able to transform or convert the text to maps and diagrams in geography, it becomes more interesting, writing an answer becomes more fun and easier also, plus also you will be able to achieve better marks, get better marks. Okay, so this is what the focus was. I think some new concepts you would have definitely understood today, and all of them are related to what? Global warming, climate change and all that. And now your environment is finished, geography is finished also. In disaster management basically we have discussed as well. So you can easily try to integrate all these topics. Always try to think which other topic, which other subject is related to this particular topic I am talking about or discussing about. Can I bring some more diverse angle rather than focusing upon geographical angle itself? If you are able to bring environment angle, if you are able to bring disaster angle, your answer look what? Much more diverse, much more better. Right? So I think that's all. We'll have ethics session, right?
All right. Yes. Good morning, everyone. Let's continue from the earlier session. So what we said in the earlier session, we said that we will focus more on all the significance, relevance of the syllabus topics, the concepts, the theories that we are going to learn. In the previous session, we have also covered the virtue ethics part, right? Let's start with the next part now. Okay. Ethics. Let's focus now on the next theory, that is deontology, right? Quick revision of the basics. Deontology, major philosophers in deontology, it is Immanuel Kant, German philosopher. German philosopher. He has talked about two important concepts or two important principles. Which two principles he is talking? He says that there should not be means and ends relationship. There should not be means and ends relationship. That means he is saying that one should act in such manner that there should not be means and ends relationship. Action should be end in itself. Okay, so action should be ends in itself. While the second principle, it is saying that act in such manner that your action becomes universal. Universal. That means in that situation, every person will act in the same manner. So one should act in that manner. Okay, so these two principles, let's try to understand how they are relevant in the present scenario. Okay, along with that, he is talking about categorical imperative principle, categorical imperative. So he is giving more emphasis on, we can say that, on conscience. So conscience driven actions. He is saying that conscience will give you moral command, absolute command to act in a right manner, right fashion. So let's try to understand how it is relevant. Okay, first thing, action should be end in itself. So whenever there is end and means relationship in the action, what happens is there is self come in between. Okay, so I will try to mention first relation. So if there is means and ends relation, there will be self in picture. Now whenever there is self comes into the picture before taking action or decision, that action is unethical according to Kant. Because whenever we take action in self interest and when the action is not selfless, so that will result into somehow compromise of others interest, or it will be unethical according to Kant. It will not be selfless action. He is saying that action should be selfless in this manner. There should not be means and ends relationship. Action should be end. So he is also talking here about quality of action. Okay, quality of action should be good. So there should not be focus on consequences and outcomes of the reaction. Now most of the times in our day-to-day life, we see that whatever the decisions or actions we take, they are taken by keeping ends in mind, right? Like why we are preparing for this examination? To become IAS officer. End is in mind always. Okay, there is no selfless actions most of the time. That's why this particular philosophy is called as ideal philosophy, right? Ideal philosophy, selfless action. You can see that most of the time in our day-to-day life, people behave in a self-centered manner. Okay, the selfless actions will be comparatively less. Can we give some examples there? Okay, like whatever we are doing in our day-to-day life, our actions will be driven by our self-interest, right? Simply you are coming from your home here, right? So somehow you are trying to reduce your pain by traveling in let's say some what you can say, personal vehicle या जो भी होगा, right? So people are trying to reduce their pain and maximize their utility, right? So selfless actions will be less in day-to-day life, but ultimately in life we need to move towards selflessness. This is how great people have also said. Mahatma Gandhi has said that the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Selflessness. Vivekananda says that only those people are alive who are living for other people. Remaining are more dead than alive. So he is again talking about selflessness. Understood? So then we can talk about is the ideal human. Okay, ideal human selflessness again. So you can give example of Nolan committee. Sabhi jagah pe you are basically relating everything related to selflessness. Now Nolan committee 7 principles we learn. Among them, one principle is selflessness for public servant. So public servants or civil servants action should be selfless. So you must be relating that to even, we can say that, civil servants, public servants or administration. Selflessness as one of the Nolan principle. Nolan committee, 7 principles. You can give that as an example. All right. So this thing is there. Then there, let's try to talk about universal action. Now it is a kind of considered as golden rule. Golden rule. Now you tell me, in our day-to-day life, let's say you interact with your friends, family members. So when you are, talking to them or taking some action, so you feel this same thing, right? That these people should not be also doing same with you. Something like that. Let's say if you are, feeling like lying to your friend, then you think that no, your friend should not be also lying to you, right? You have that feeling. Then you will not lie to your friend. That means the things that you feel other people should not do to you, you should not also do to other people. This is the golden principle, golden rule. So automatically you will take the right decisions then, ethical decisions. Don't you think so? Sahi hai ye principle? So this is also applied, like simple example, if you feel that other people should not do violence to you, then you should not also do. You feel that you should reach on time like any other person, then you follow the traffic rules. If you break the traffic rules, other will also break the traffic rules, then you will not reach on time ultimately. So same thing. If you feel that other people wants to do the same thing, you also do the same thing. That is the ideal conduct. It will lead to ideal conduct. The action, it is not talking about the outcome or ends thing, right? So in our day-to-day life also, we should have some kind of, let's say, duties. We have fundamental duties, public duties, civil servants, they have duty, right? They are supposed to perform their duties. As a citizen, we are supposed to perform our duties while enjoying the rights. Okay, so in this manner you can link to some of the present context, we can say that. Okay, then some limitations of this theory. So we are talking here only about the conscience driven actions, but the conscience is somehow subjective thing, right? Every person's moral conscience, or we can say that development of conscience, is varying level, okay, different level, right? Lawrence Kohlberg has given 6 stages of moral development of conscience. So people are in different stages of development. The final stage is Kantian stage, or the ultimate stage, we can say, of achieving wisdom, self-actualization, enlightenment. But all people are not yet reached to that stage, and that's why the people and their own conscience will say that certain things are right even if they are wrong, because their conscience is not well developed yet. Well developed conscience only will tell that certain things, okay, these are wrong, certain things, these are right. So that's why this is the major limitation. Second thing is that in many situations, especially emergency like situations, in emergency situations. Ends become important. Okay, in emergency situations, end become important. For example, there is a disaster like situation, okay, or war like situation. So there saving the life of people becomes important. So ultimate, what we are focusing here, ends, the outcome, not the means. Now in such situation, you may bypass the rules and regulation. There was this case study 2 years back, which was related to blood transfusion. There is a pregnant lady, and in ambulance there is landslide has happened in your district, and you are basically administrator who happens to be also a doctor by profession, by graduation. Okay, so you are going to take the decision in that situation whether you should allow that blood transfusion to the lady or not, because blood transfusion requires some kind of test before giving that blood, and there you are not having that facility in ambulance. So whether you will bypass the rules to save the life of mother and child, this is the way we have to think here. Emergency situation, so focus should be on saving the life of people, protecting dignity of the people. In emergency situation, the ends become important. Okay, one more criticism is that when we are saying that ends and means relation should not be there, it is not necessarily that people will always follow the bad means or wrong means to achieve ends. Not necessarily. People can follow good means to achieve good ends. Don't you think so? Like most of the people in our day-to-day life will try to earn the livelihood or money with good means, honest means. Don't you think so? So what is that? Good means, good ends. Okay, so this is the way Mahatma Gandhi also says that means are as important as ends. He says that purity of means. That means people generally have the means and ends relation in mind, but they have tendency to ensure purity of means, good means or ethical means, while we can say achieving those ends. Like simple in examination. Okay, so you are trying to give this examination IAS, you want to become IAS officer, right? That end is in mind, but you will not cheat in the exam, right? So you are being honest, hardworking, preparing for this examination honestly. What is that? Right means to achieve right ends. So it is also called as ethical. We can call it as ethical, right? This is very ideal scenario he is talking, that there is no means and ends relation. What Kant will say that Kant, when you are, how many of you go to the temple? Okay, occasionally, not frequently, but occasionally. So when you pray, when you worship, what do you say to God? We ask something, or we let's say like this ki Bhagwan pass kara de, yeah, something like that. When we offer something to God in return or something like that, I am telling. Okay, so Kant will say that it is unethical, because you are worshipping to achieve certain ends, praying to achieve certain ends. Okay, what he says that pray for the sake of praying, no ends in mind, that you feel good after praying, that is actually ethical. No ends, nothing. So next time when you pray, don't ask anything to the God, right? Simply feel like you are already content, and we can say that have gratitude. Okay, so that is basically Kant will say that we should have that feeling. Understood? But it is very ideal. You know this, most of the people will not follow this, and that's why it is said that deontology should be aspirational, right? This philosophy is aspirational. We have to achieve this in our life. But next philosophy that we are going to study, that is teleology or utilitarian. Teleo means ends, logy means science, the science of ends, right? Teleology. So major philosophy within this is utilitarian philosophy. Okay, what this, it is talking about maximizing utility. Maximize the utility. So every action, every decision should maximize the utility of the person. So there are two concepts within that we know. One is talking about pleasure pain principle, given by Bentham, Jeremy Bentham. Right, Jeremy Bentham will give, this is also called as ethical egoism, this principle. So what this principle is saying, most of the actions even in our day-to-day life will try to reduce the pain, maximize the pleasure. So when you are coming here from your home, you will ensure that somehow it will take less time, less efforts, less money. Don't you think so? You will try and you will have that kind of mode of transport. You will not walk because more efforts, more time. But at the same time, you will not take cab. It will cost you more. So you will have public transport, bus or metro, something like that. See, in our mind, this is what is going on. Right? Minimizing the pain, maximizing the pleasure. So basically, our every action is, even when you decided that you want to become IAS officer and prepare for this examination, it was this principle. I am telling you. Why you want to become IAS officer? Most of the people have job security in mind, right? Government job is there, status is there, or something we can say that secure life is there for future. So here, security is basically reducing pain that we have in mind. Okay, for next 30 years, your life is secured, right? On 30th of month, you are getting the salary, you are getting all the allowances and perks, everything is there. Basically, you don't know what kind of stress is there, pain. Okay, you feel that it is going to reduce your pain. But anyway, but I'm saying that most of the students will keep this in mind, pleasure pain. The private sector, you may have heard, band gaya patta, wala jo cheez hota hai na, like private sector, people are like hire and fire policy and all these things. Okay, so that's why what they think, government job, secure job. So most of the decisions, and including we can say that government actions, government decisions, they are based on this, reducing the pain of the people, maximizing the pleasure of the people. Okay. Now why it is called as ethical egoism? Egoism means here somehow we are focusing on self-interest, fulfilling the self-interest. Don't you think so? We are not concerned about others' interest here. We are concerned more about self-interest. That's why egoism. But it is ethical. Why it is called as ethical? Till the point it is not harming the other interest, then only we will call it as ethical. Like for example, I am trying to earn my livelihood through honest means, which is not harming others' interest, then I will try to earn as much as possible. If I am doing business and if I am doing that with honest means, without deceiving the customers, appropriate quality is ensured in goods and services, then it is ethical. So I am earning the profit. I am looking for more and more profit. It's my self-interest, but I am doing it by not harming the other's interest. Understood? So I am paying the right salaries to my employees. I am ensuring quality of goods and services to my customers. I am ensuring the satisfaction of my customers. This is actually, we can say that, ethical egoism. Understood? Second principle, what it is saying is greatest good to the greatest number of people. Greatest good to the greatest number of people, GGGN. Now this is given by J.S. Mill, John Stuart Mill. Okay. Now what he is saying is, this is narrow principle. The interpretation of this principle, utilitarian philosophy, is this narrow principle. He is trying to broaden it and saying that there should be ethical altruism. That means your actions should ensure that there is maximum, let's say, pleasure to maximum number of people and reduce their pain also. So he is talking about collective pleasure of the community, of the society, of the country, whatever, let's say, term you can use. So I will sum up with two statements. This principle will say that the good of society lies in good of individual. The good of society lies in good of individual. So focus on individual's interest. Automatically, the society will be, doing the good, or we can say that it will have the betterment. Then here in this principle, the good of individual lies in good of society. So here the focus should be on society's development, its welfare. Automatically, individual welfare is included in it. So greatest good to the greatest number of people. Here most of the government decisions and policies, they will focus on this. Okay, simple example we can talk about is whatever the law and order related policies are there, or government's what you can say decisions are there, like APSPA in Northeast India, Armed Forces Special Powers Act, to deal with insurgency, Northeast India. Now that is basically very severe kind of law, right? Like extreme level of, we can say, powers are given to the officials, but this is ultimately going to ensure the peace and, we can say that, harmony, stability in Northeast India. So overall community is benefiting, but it is resulting into human rights violations. Certain people, their rights are violated, deaths are also happening, right? So that minority is not being attended here. The focus is on greatest good to the greatest number of people. Maximum people are benefiting from that decision. Okay, so here he is focusing on collective good of the society, a collective pleasure of the society, individual pleasure here in this part. Now, how it is relevant to present day society? Yes, of course it is relevant. We are saying that most of the decisions or actions, pleasure pain principle in our individual's life. Okay, and in our day-to-day life, pleasure pain principle. We had given one example also. Now, most of the government decisions, greatest good to the greatest number of people. You can give that AFSPA one such example, or government policies and schemes and programs. Their focus is on benefiting maximum number of any sector. If it is agriculture related scheme, so the scheme will ensure benefits to the maximum number of farmers. Okay, it should reach to the maximum number of beneficiaries. This is the intention. Okay, greatest good to the greatest number of people, right? The government will not think that we should be only focusing on these farmers, these number of farmers in this area or this area. No, they will focus that maximum number of farmers should benefit. Understood? So this is the way we should be able to relate this utilitarian philosophy. These two principles you should be able to write in your answers and give relevance whenever the question is asked. Okay? Now, the criticism, of course, it is, we can say that criticized by Kant. Why? Because if there are, let's say, focus is on ends, teleology means ends, the focus is on ends or outcome, then people will justify the wrong means to achieve right ends. Okay, justify wrong means to achieve right ends. So it is not correct, right? It's kind of Robin Hood concept. The people say that I am doing corruption, on the other hand I am doing charity to the orphanage. The person will say that I am doing corruption for the purpose of charity. Is it the ethical thing? No, right? Many times the corruption is justified as it greases the wheel of system. There is famous saying, right? Corruption greases the wheel of system. That means without corruption, the administration will stop the working. Your file will not move. Okay. जब तक 500 का नोट नहीं देखता है तो वो आगे नहीं जाता है वो फाइल. This is the case, right? So it is said like this, but is it good thing? Justifying corruption for the administration working? No. In long term, it will create a moral hazard for the society. Okay, and this is the way small bribe result into big scams, big corruption. Okay, so that's why it should be stopped there and there itself. Understood? So these are some, let's say, limitations you can mention for the utilitarian philosophy. And at the same time, many times we are talking about self-interest. No, we don't know when self-interest will get converted into selfish behavior. There is a difference between these two, right? Selfish is when we are only thinking about our self-interest, which is harming other interest. That is selfish. So up till now, whatever we said, no, up to our friends, why you are becoming so selfish? Okay, so it's not selfish behavior unless and until it is harming your interest. If it is not harming your interest, then it is not selfish behavior. Try to understand. Self-interest is good thing. Pursuing self-interest is always a good thing. But ensure that it is not harming the other's interest. Is this clear? Okay. So simply when you want to earn the profit in the business, ensure that it is not harming the other's interest. Right? But what we observe in our society, there are so many problems. People are following wrong means to achieve or earn the profit. So you can give example of crony capitalism. Capitalism philosophy in a sense is good. It is based on utilitarian philosophy. But crony capitalism is problematic as it uses wrong means to achieve profit. Okay, so we can come across like deceiving advertisements nowadays, false claims they make, right? We come across that fair and lovely 14 days mein chehra gora ho jayega. These kinds of advertisement. Recently, Consumer Protection Authority has penalized Baba Ramdev's Patanjali. Okay, and even Supreme Court has asked him to give apology for false claims regarding one coronil kind of medicine. It was launched during COVID-19 or something. Then recently that Consumer Protection Authority has even penalized some of